7:13, welcome back to the show. On April 20th, 1999, two students walked into the Columbine High School and opened fire, killing 13 people and then themselves. Before last Friday, for many of us, that's the school violence incident that really comes to mind when you think about it. However, school shootings didn't start with Harris and Klebold in Colorado. In fact, the first reported instance of school shootings was in 1764, where 4 people entered a Pennsylvania school and shot several students and their teacher. Now, with this latest incident in Newtown, Connecticut, we seemingly more than ever are looking ways to ensure that our children are safe at school. For those answers, we turn to law enforcement and, of course, to the schools themselves. Joining me this morning, Superintendent of Education here in South Carolina, Dr. Mick Zais. First, good morning, sir.
Tyler, it's a pleasure being here with you today. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in this morning. I wish it was under better circumstances, for sure. You know, and obviously our hearts continue to go out for everyone touched by the shootings up in Connecticut. But what do you view as the educator and as the head educator for the state? What do incidents like this, what happens in your office when you say, my God, this just happened?
Well, first of all, I want to, on behalf of all the educators in South Carolina, say that we grieve collectively for the families and the community of Newtown. A horrific act perpetrated by a disturbed young man. But to answer the question directly, I can assure you that our educators have as their first priority the safety of the children under their care. They go into public education because they love these kids, right. And they almost feel like they're their own children. They talk about my kids, and I've been in 160 plus schools since I came into office, and I first of all want to assure the parents that we have security precautions in place, not only for an intruder, but fire drills, tornado drills, earthquake drills, hurricane drills. We have drills for school bus accidents and all kinds of things.
You know, I think that's a very good point as well, that it goes beyond just a shooter situation. You're right, there are a lot of other emergencies and things that you have to worry about, and secure a school goes beyond just that active incident.
Yeah. At the department, we have a model checklist for safety of schools. If parents want to look at it, it's on our website. At the beginning of every academic year, we send that out to each superintendent in our 84 districts, ask them to review the safety plans in every school, update those safety plans. In fact, there's a state regulation that directs that be done, and that drills be conducted. It was in October that every school in South Carolina and 4 other adjacent states conducted an earthquake drill, all on the same day. It was called the Great Southeastern Shakeout.
Okay.
But parents need to understand that, like all public safety is primarily a local issue. Okay. So that the state has regulations and policies and checklists, but the local school boards and local officials are responsible for implementation.
They can adjust as need be for their particular district as well?
Absolutely, and law enforcement in each district and each school is a little bit different. I know you and I were talking earlier about whether or not we should arm school officials.
And that's a big debate. Of course, it just came out of the PD, and that's a big question. What do you think about that? I mean, if you arm, whether it's teachers, administrators, whatever, where's your stance on that, sir?
Well, consistently I've said that one size doesn't fit all in education, and this is another example of that. I know of one school, for example, in Colorado. They're 30 minutes from the nearest law enforcement. It's out in the remote part of western Colorado. Sure. That might make sense for that school. But that might not make sense for a school that's right next to a police station. Before we have a one-size-fits-all policy that's included across the state, I think our legislators should listen to our teachers, our administrators, local law enforcement, and parents. What do parents think about arming school officials?
I'm sure there's parents on both sides that say, yes, I want them safe at all costs, and some would say, I don't want them near a gun, no how, no way, no way.
Absolutely. So I think that's a decision that needs to be made at the local level, and you know, if you've got law enforcement close by, if you've got a resource officer who's armed in the school, that might make another difference. So yeah, I would like for us not to rush into some one-size-fits-all policy.
Sure. Sure. Now, and briefly, we're going to wrap in a second, sir, but we had talked, you talked about the security plans and the safety plans, and you had mentioned just before the interview that those are available for parents to see at their individual schools. If they want to go in and say, I'd like to see how you're protecting my kid.
Absolutely. I encourage every parent who has a concern to visit your local school, talk to your officials, and just see firsthand those security precautions. Even when I go into a school and they're expecting me, I have to show ID, sign in, get a badge, and as we walk around with the principal and visit classrooms, the principal has to take a key off of a chain from her or his pocket and open up each classroom. Classrooms have to be locked or have the capacity to be locked. I have all the 160 plus schools I've been in. I can only think of one school where the classrooms weren't locked all the time.
Right. So they're pretty, I mean, your general feeling South Carolina is a relatively safe.
I think our children are much safer in our schools than they are in most public places because our educators are so concerned about school safety all the time.
Fantastic. Dr. Zais, I appreciate your time, your
Thank
commitment
you
to the state and the young minds.
Thank you,
that we put
Tyler.
out every day.
Pleasure being with you today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Zais.